But do you know what game is better than Super Animal Royale? Hello, lady. I don't know, but that's not what I meant to press. Thanks for the hydrate and the stretch. And last time to watch 2 screens of Hello Man. Yep. Last time we played through Hello Lady, we I can't say we got through a lot of it, but you know, we definitely got a lot further than the first time around. we got through a good amount, and we were introduced to all of the relevant characters, I guess you can say. And there Dexter goes again with simping over a character. But a few things happened, right? We were introduced to the Crowns, and we were introduced to what their job is, I guess you could call it. And we also got to see I guess you could call it the unique personality of the main character. Not just through when he was speaking, but also through the narration. The most humble main character. But you know, as we saw afterwards, we got to see that who the fuck is Maya Naito? Maya Naito from Happy Maya. No. Listen, Dexter, I know I haven't done the ranking yet for Happy Maya. I say I know I haven't done it. I haven't met Keiko yet, so I haven't done the rankings for Happy Maya, and I am not putting Maya first. Okay, she is not first. Spoiler alert: she is she's closer to the bottom. All right, maybe Keiko will be last place, but I need to watch the Happy Maya vid. Well, thankfully I just started releasing the videos. I just started uploading them. Right. But yes. Narita, as arrogant as he seems to be, he appears to have been able to back those words with what he did to those the armed gunsmen. You know, they may have been amateur, but he was able to take out an entire group of domestic terrorists, essentially, who were holding AK-47s. You'll probably only get glimpses of Keiko at first for a while, from what I remember. Right. I mean, considering the fact that we haven't seen her yet, and it's been like 6 episodes, it's not a good sign. But either way, that's enough rambling on. I'm going to find a lolly ferret girl chatbot. No. Let's get into it, shall we?
あなたはまさか成田真理？
Did I successfully make Ando uncomfortable? Brother, what do you mean successfully? You do it every day. You do it every stream. After taking care of the armed group, I walked over to the hostages. But suddenly, someone from the car called out to me. That was unexpected, since I hadn't been in Japan in 7 years. I didn't know anyone here, and I didn't think that anyone from back then would recognize me after I'd changed so much. A stern beauty akin to a glacier from the poles stepped out of the car. Tokeno Yomise.
はじめまして、成田さん。私は夜店時のスクールの職員です。あなたと会える日を楽しみにしていました。
なるほど。スクールには私の資料が届いているはずだ。顔がわかるのも当然か。では、改めて挨拶しよう。はじめまして、時の女子。成田真理だ。あなたの名前は事前に受け取った案内で見た覚えがあるのだが、私の担当だという理解でいいのかね？
ねえ、そうなります。夜が明けてからのことですが、こんな場所とこんな状況で出会えるとは思いませんでした。
Well, just be glad that he showed up early.
時野先生、彼をご存知なんですか？
The brave girl from before hesitantly spoke to Miss Tokino.
ええ、あなたには先ほど話し損ねましたが、彼は成田真理、転校生です。そして彼のグレードはエトワール級、つまり6人目のクラウンということでもあります。
Because, of course, he's the 6th crown. Why wouldn't the 6th crown be the only guy in a group of 5 girls? That revelation perplexed the girl. Considering the fact she didn't waver before death, that must have been a serious matter.
そんな、6人目なんて、それも、男性型なんて、そんなの、まさか。
何をもってまさかなのですか、音無作。既成の概念にとらわれているようでは、ノーブルへの道は遠いですよ。
Yeah, you're faltering, Saku. You're letting your preconceived notions get the better of you.
これまでエトワール級 HMI は女性ばかりでしたが、それが特定の因果的原因による事故だとは証明されたわけではありません。である以上、確率的にはいつであれ男性のエトワールが出現してもおかしくはなかった。
それはそうですけど。
But that poses the question. I mean, you know, I say the only thing I know about Narita is that he's a pervert, but, you know, that's kind of a bare bones description of his personality. But even then, how could someone so... How could he be, quote unquote, noble and also a pervert at the same time? She was exactly like I'd expected her to be. She recomposed herself, faced me, and regained her courteous form without a flaw.
先ほどはありがとうございました、成田真理。あなたに救っていただいた感謝は、とても言葉では言い尽くせるものではありません。私は音無作。あなたの入学するスクールのエトワールの一人です。
I was charmed. She straightened her back as if it came naturally. That alone was eye-catching and made me feel like the air around us had changed. They do interesting things with the camera in this game. People's beauty couldn't be gauged by mere numbers and shapes. True beauty was in the way they lived, the invisible things peeking outside. Etoel meant star, and Sako Otanashi was more than qualified for that title. Oh, of course. The beauty made me the beauty made me bow and kneel like a knight before a great queen. And surprised by my action, she tried to back away, and as though to dispel her worries with graceful movements, I took her pale hand.
成田真理だ。おとなし作。
How noble of him. I kissed the back of her hand. It was a kiss of gratitude and respect.
成田真理
No matter what the situation, no matter how desperate it all seemed, the truly valuable things always deserved respect. I was a transfer student. Starting tomorrow, I would share classes with her and spend my days alongside her. I was truly grateful that I'd found a light as bright as her. No matter how much I thanked, it didn't seem like enough. How could I express this passion within me? Her dignified black hair that reflected the moonlight, her moist eyes that hid trouble and an unwavering will, her level of refinement and transience as she stood before death. And then, the brightest point of all.
美しいその豊満なる胸が
I was waiting for it. Very, very noble of him.
は
Like... Because of course the title of this song is Comical Groovin'. Like an ancient sinner who had been thrown to hell when one step away from heaven, Saku's face suddenly strained. Apparently my words weren't enough to express my excitement. Miracles exceeding that of a voluptuous chest were few and far between. They were the manifestation of the female gender in life, a symbol of abundance and peace. They were a treasure no man could have. To properly express the burning feelings within me, I chose my words carefully. You definitely chose your words.
作のその麗しき美巨乳が
Your bountiful breasts.
医師や思いますが、ドン引きされているのでは。声に出すのはいかがなものかと。
He is the only main character that would, or one of. I can't say only.
愛も怒りも思うだけでどうして伝わるのだね。心情とは言葉に乗せて初めて伝わり、相手の心に届き、形をなすのだよ。
ジャパニーズ言霊でございますね。医師やご主人様の持論には全く同感ですが、世の中には伝えていいものと悪いものがあるのです。ジャパンではそれをわびさびというのだとか。
わびさび。
つつましさの美徳。なるほど、一理あるが、私としてはこの感動ばかりは声に出さないという選択はないのだ。
So how is this guy in Etoile?
承知いたしました。では、今からヒシアは他人ということでお願いします。
And so I approached the shrine. Interesting first choice. Why? What do you mean? Why is this these are the same choices. They all lead down the same fucking path of wanting to touch them. Okay, yep. What is the... Where's the guide? I fucking misplaced it or whatever. Oh, there it is. So... there is no difference. I guess. Well, yeah. According to this guide, there is no difference between any of the routes. Because which choice? The first one. Need them boldly. Which doesn't feel right. So surely. Okay, what is? Okay, yep. It's the choices are the same in the Fua novel. In the Fua novel guide. But for some reason, the guide only says to need them boldly. So what the fuck is gonna happen if I, pick a different one? Okay. You know what? If the guide says to need them boldly, then I may as well test out the other two choices. Need them thoroughly with deep reverence. Start with that one. And caressed it as if shaking a hand. Shaking hands. Before the light of truth, people are powerless. Sight alone isn't enough. You must also check by touch. Do you really?
素晴らしい。張りがあり、弾力があり、重力に逆らう強さがある。これぞ至高の一品と断ずるに何のためらいもない。いやこの変態来ないで、触らないで、近寄らないで、どっか行けしねえ。
You know, usually when the main heroine calls the main character a perv, it's usually there's always a misunderstanding. This is the only time it's valid to call Narita a perv. She raised her leg up high and brought it down on me at a 90-degree angle. I was so taken in by the side that I couldn't evade it. What an excellent vertical downward whirlwind kick. In honor of the stockings, I decided to name it Beautiful Black Whirlwind, which carries death. Maybe shorten that a bit. The sky. What a beautiful moon. Oh, my consciousness faded due to her precise blow.
石屋、すまない。私はここまでのようだ。
Yeah, I'm dead, bro.
ご主人様、傷は深いですがしっかり。死因がセクハラとか生まれ変わってやり直せという感じですが、ご主人様。
志半ばに果てるこの無念だが、良い人生だった。至高の胸と出会えたこの喜びをもって私は地獄へ赴こう。
At least he's being honest to where he would go after groping a girl.
ご主人様、ご主人様。
So here's the thing, right? Because there are two options when it comes to needing them, right? Are all three of them going to lead down to me being able to choose how to need them again? Or is it just the first one? But then again, what difference was there between the three of them? The three options? Because one led to a CG, and I would assume that the other two would lead to the same CG. Right?
時野先生、
何ですか？
先ほどの発言訂正します。男に興味なんてありません。最低、死ねばいいのに。
ままならないものですね。
So she's just okay with what Narita did, apparently. She says that's unfortunate. She's not like quite understandable. It's quite unfortunate. A hazy moon hung in the night sky. The sphere's outline became unclear, creating an angelic halo. The lunar halo, the icy crystal born in the thin clouds. The tranquil, isolated sky bloomed with supreme, beautiful clarity, despite not competing with anything.
我が生涯に
I
一片の
wouldn't
悔いなし。
either.
ハローレディー。
Right. Why does it lead into the opening? What a great first. What a great first impression of Narita. Okay, yep. I just have a feeling. What? Care to explain what Eru was doing in the CG, in that SDCG? Eru's the complete opposite of MC's taste. Well, I was about to say, I feel like Narita got spoiled when he was overseas. The Battle Among the Roses. But part 2, The Battle Among the Roses. Because they would, you know, the size of the girls' chests in whichever country he was in before were probably bigger. What am I fucking talking about? It was a world made of whitened glass. I mean, I have to see what the other fucking ones are. I have to see what the other choices lead to, right? Not canon, Narita. Okay, what? Okay. Okay. So, what is the difference between need them thoroughly with deep reverence and need them without restraint for I can't hold myself back? Is he going to be even more aggressive than he was before? Because how would that go? Or is it the same? Okay, well, it appears to have been the same. So that poses the question: if the guide is telling me to pick the first option every time, why is that one different from the other three? And I wouldn't think so. Now, there's my answer. The guide is just saying to pick the first option because the choice doesn't matter. Okay, got it. There was a flashy, futuristic structure reminiscent of a windowed building meant to symbolize a bright future. Its name was Tenkawa Noble Academy, and beyond the gate, an educational facility lorded over the landscape.
長いのでスクールで構わないと思います。フィッシャー、ナイスアイデアです。とても効率的。
Listen, I brought this up before, alright? Tenkawa Noble Academy is the name of the school specific to this school. Calling it the Academy means that this is either the only academy in this place or the... I wouldn't say most notable, but it's kind of hard to explain. It was hard for me to explain it the first time around, but I guess the best way I can say is if Harvard is called the University of America, right? Or Oxford is the University of the UK, right? The academy would need to have the same prestige. I think that's the right word to use. It would need to have the same prestige, you know, on the same level as like Harvard or Oxford, but, you know, in a high school sense, to be labeled the academy. Right? So saying that the shortened name would be enough is you know, it just kind of diminishes the prestige of the other academies, I guess. Provost takes best of the best. Yeah, that is what I mean by prestige, though. So, you know, but that kind of comes with the territory, right? Of having history, right? Having a deep connected history with the place that the academy is in. It also comes with a reputation. But, you know, I guess that part is kind of has been proven through the crowns, or whatever you'd say. And I did bring up that just because there's no history in this town doesn't mean that there isn't long history with this. How would I say? Not specifically this academy, but like the name as a whole, I guess, because very, very obviously there are more than there is more than just this academy in the world. This academy is technically the best of the best, but I won't say anything else. Right. She had talked to herself a lot. She had grown up in an environment where her only companion was an imaginary friend named Mefendi. The academy was on a hilly area about 10 kilometers away from Okushima. As an educational facility, it had a thorough quality over quantity approach. It had only opened a few years ago, sure, but despite covering a whole 8 years of education, it had about 200 students. For a private school focused on profit, that wasn't a manageable number. However, from what Hishiya could see, the school could afford whatever it wanted. All of its students lived in assigned dorms. The vast territory it boasted, despite its low student count, was covered by tall walls, making it seem like a fortress ready for any enemies. The students almost never left the walls. That was the reason why almost none of the locals even knew it was a school. The school had no introductory website or pamphlets. The ones who knew it were few and far between.
来たようだな。
After a short wait, Hishiya's master, Shinri Narita, said those words.
いよいよですね、成田様。
Hishiya muttered those words in her heart. For a game that is meant to come across as noble in a sense, that transition is pretty fucking juvenile, right? That's the kind of transition you would use if you were editing with Windows fucking Movie Maker. A romanticist hallway you'd never expect from the modern look. If you ignored the ceiling, it was even wider. It was even wide enough for the style. A romanticist hallway you'd never expect from the modern look. If you ignored the ceiling, it was even wide enough for the style. Right. The chic construction was reminiscent of historical medieval European buildings, right? Upon passing the gate, the plaza, and the door to the school, Hishiya and I were greeted by this hallway and...
待っていました、成田真理。
Very unfortunate that you have to greet him again. Saku Otanashi. I had no idea why, but it seemed like she was avoiding eye contact. Yeah, I don't know why either. It's definitely got nothing to do with what you did yesterday. Hello.
どうやら奥ゆかしい彼女は昨夜完璧な礼を尽くした私と目を合わせるのさえ恥じらっているようだね。
Hello, lady.
菱谷、あれはスリッパで踏みつぶした G の死骸を眺める時の吐き捨てるような眼差しではないかと思いますが、まあどうでもいいでしょう。
音無し作、君が出迎えてくれるとは意外だ。
私も慎んでまっぴらごめんだと言いたいところですが、時の先生の指示で私がエスコートパートナーに指名されてしまったので、本当に残念ながら。
She did this despite knowing exactly what he did to her last night.
成田真理、あなたがスクールでの暮らしになれるまで、私、音無作がエスコートを務めます。 わからないことがあれば何でも相談してください。
Perfection. She hid her bashfulness and lightly bowed flawlessly.
まず教室へ案内します。ついてきてください。
そうさせてもらおう。
As I followed her, she suddenly jumped a whole 5 meters backward. Her powerful legs were reminiscent of Thompson's gazelles. She then glared at me like she was about to curse her parents' enemies to death.
見事な跳躍だ。足元に地雷でもあったのかね。
半径3メートル以内に近づいたら銃殺します。
Yep. Would it have been rude to ask if she had a gun? She was absolutely serious, which only made me more perplexed.
君がエスコートしてくれるという話をたった今聞かされたように思うのだが。
ええ、でも近づいたら殺す。
ヒシア、よくわからないが、これはあれかね。何か高度に哲学的な全クエスチョンだろうか。
ヒシアとしてはここへ来るまで今時ノーブルとかぶっちゃけドン引きだよねという気分でしたが、おとなし様は意外に素直な方のようなので交換ポイント爆上げ中です。
I agree.
ヒシアのスキルが羨ましいものだ。私への交換ポイントは何点なのだろう。彼女は奥ゆかしすぎて感情表現が分かりにくい。
ドキンガンなのですね、ご主人様。
ところで成田くん。
After thinking it through, she decided to call me by my last name.
ここからは学生のみです。
We had a non-student among us. Morihishia, my loyal, skilled maid.
ヒシア、教室へ行くことになった。今日から私の立場はこのスクールの学生だ。
それは DT です。
一般的でない語彙も増えてきたようだ。何やら用法が適切でない気もするが。
Hishia thought for a moment, then corrected herself.
それは頂上でございます。
もう少し日本語の研究が必要だな。
はい、ズル向けのご主人様に DT などとあらぬ疑いのかかる発言をしてしまいました。ヒシア、お詫びいたします。
I slowly nodded, while Saka glared at me like I was some sort of insect.
本日から私は学生寮で生活する。
承知しております。
I remembered something I had to confirm, and faced the beautiful girl who was still upset for reasons I couldn't quite understand.
自助同伴の寮生というのはありだろうか。
そんなものはない。
She shut me down in an instant. That was what it meant to have nowhere to turn to.
ということらしい、ヒシア。どうやら今朝の策は生理的にご機嫌が斜めのようだね。別れは手早く終わらせるとしよう。
Yeah, she's uncomfortable because you're here, not you're here as in Hishia, and not because of Naruto.
もう手遅れというか全面的にアウトっぽいですが、まあ苦労するのはご主人様なのでよしとしましょう。それではご主人様、しばしのお別れでございます。ご心配なく、イシアはせいぜい羽を伸ばすことにしますので。
正直一抹の不安は拭いきれない。私一人で果たして文化的な生活を維持できるものか。
ご主人様が電波なのは育った環境の過酷さゆえですので、まあしゃあねえなと諦めるのが寛容です。ありふれた世界で埋もれて生きるのも一つの試練。頑張ってください。
Thanks. She gave me a full smile, then soothed my soul with a gentle wave as she departed. She had come to serve me because of a certain twist of fate.
こういうことわざがございます。 文化がないなら木の根をかじればいいじゃない。人間は木の根をかじってでも生き抜くことができます。夢も尊厳もなくとも生きるだけは叶うもの。まして揺るぎない意志を持っているならば、進むべき道の開かれぬ理由のあろうはずがありません。
Shinri Narita had a promise to fulfill. The stage he aimed for was distant, but the feeling in his heart was true and clear all the same. Thus, he would push forward. No matter how harsh the road would be, he would never stop.
成田様は必ずやたどり着かれることでしょう。
君は完璧なメイドだな、菱谷森。
そろそろ行きます。
Unable to take more of our conversation, Saku walked on ahead. I fixed my posture, and Hishiya fixed a messy spot on my uniform. Okay, well, the bell signaling the start of class rang out at that very moment.
本当に長かったな、菱谷。
ここは成田様が望まれた約束の地。一切の慈悲なく、微塵も容赦なく、さまつに心煩わされることなく、行くべきところへ行き、なすべきことをなされますよ
う。これより先は人海の哀れ、人の心なる者たちよ。さらば。
Hishiya gave a perfect English-style bow.
いってらっしゃいませ。どうかお心のままに。お帰りまでにはインド式自助術をマスターしておきます。
What does that mean? She turned around and went where she had to without even looking back at me. The night of the failed kidnapping had passed, and I had arrived at the academy. I, Shinri Narita, was a transfer student. Starting today, I would join the school and live out my youth, while immersing myself in education. Honestly, I was hesitant. My life until now had been void of school. Do not fear change. Those golden words gave me the push I needed. If I found relief in the familiar, consumed peace, drowned in the now, and despised the unknown, hated turbulence, and forgot to seek dreams, life was worthless. But if you found relief in the familiar. With that in mind, puff out your chest. Fear not, don't stop, and challenge this new change. Life in school. So not a very new change for most people. After seeing off Narita, she left the hallway. When she reached the main gate, she once again turned to the academy. From where she was, she had a good view of the large forest within the school area. She boldly took out a pair of glasses from her pouch and put them on. She looked around, checking the school's front and examining all the minute details. Graceful, breathtaking beauty. It was an art piece born out of modernity and technology. It had a weight of history around it, but it was far better constructed than the old European buildings she'd seen many times. She took the glasses off and carefully placed them in a pocket.
こう一句読みたくなる景色です。見た目というものは一番の嘘であるかもしれない。世間というやつはいつも虚飾に欺かれるから。昨夜助けられたのを醜態と受け取った夜店教諭がご主人様の口を塞ぐために罠にかけたり毒殺を図ったりする可能性は考慮すべきでしょうか。
I don't know what you're talking about, Hishiya. Nothing happened yesterday, and that's why she was tasked with being his escort for the day, because nothing happened yesterday. And yeah. With a master like hers, that didn't seem unlikely. And it wasn't at all impossible for him to just drink such poison by accident, so perhaps she had to warn him. He would walk a thorny path. A single mistake could ruin it all. In fact, he was in a situation where he had to do everything perfectly, no matter how slight.
医師や見回しますが、見れば見るほど大層なところです。できることならこの中をじっくりゆっくりと歩き回ってみたいものですが。
Alas, as an outsider, she could only act around the main gate. As she walked away, she looked back at the school once more and and thought of her master.
成田様、どうかご武運を。
その成田くん、
Hearing my name made me stop my train of thought. Asaka was leading me through the hallways. It was such a long walk that I questioned the design of the place.
昨日助けてもらったことは一応感謝しています。あなた
感謝されるようなこと
God damn
は
it.
していないよ。私は自らの意志に基づいてなすべきことをなしただけだ。
昨日助けてもらったことは一応感謝しています。あなたが現れなければ私たちはひどく望ましくない状況に陥っていたでしょうから。
There you go.
目の前で窮地に陥る者がいるとする。間近で理不尽に苦しむ者がいるとする。手を差し伸べるのに理由が必要なのかね。
I spoke the obvious, though saying it felt embarrassing.
それは成田くん。
Yeah, he's very noble when it comes to anything except titties.
ようやく今朝からのぎこちなさが消えたようだ。そう、これからもそのように私を呼んでくれたまえ、音無し作。君の声は耳にとても心よい。
あなた何をいきなり。
思ったところを正直に述べたまでだが、何か疑問点があるのかね。
だからそうじゃなくて。
Saka was so perplexed that it felt odd. Perhaps ancient wisdom was correct. A woman's heart was a deep labyrinth, too difficult even for me.
成田くん、あなたは昨べも思ったけれど、とても変わってる。
Yeah?
自覚はないのだが、なぜかよく言われる。不思議なことだね。
ありていに言うと、偉そうだとか態度が大きいとか言われると。
さすがはスクールのインシグニア、軽眼だ。
Though I really was grand, so hearing people tell me that I was grandiose meant nothing to me. However, Saku's words made a question float to the forefront of my mind.
もしかするとだが、私の態度はあまり学生的ではないのだろうか。
You could say that.
まあ言葉を選んで言うと、とても個性的ですねとは思います。
私は生まれは日本だが、海外生活が長かった。
言葉遣いや態度はそのせいだと？
いや、それは全く別の理由だ。
さっきの前振り何だったの？
私を育てた男は人を人とも思わぬ変わり者でね。私は長らくあの下道目に囚われも同然の身の上だった。とっくにくたばっているのでせいせいするのだが、今頃は地獄で偉そうに幅を利かせているかと思うと、それも腹立たしい。
He was a wonderful person of whom I had no good memories, which made looking back at them quite annoying. We'd lived in a distant foreign country, And though I was basically his prisoner for the few years I spent with him. Wait, yeah. Yeah, he said he was a wonderful person, okay. It did make me strong and bold. I could even thank him for that.
なるほど。この親にしてこの子ありと。
婉曲な言い回しは不要だ。はっきりと育ての親がクズだったのね。成田様かわいそう萌えと言いたまえ。私も全面的に同意しよう。
Yeah, that's what she meant.
これっぽっちも言ってない。
ことわざ的にはまさにトンビがフェニックスを生んだが適切だろう。
まあどう適切なのか分かりたくもないですが、そういうものだと納得するのはやぶさかではありません。これ以上は面倒だし。
She placed her hand on her forehead and sighed. I was glad we'd come to an understanding.
音なし作。君は思いのほか率直な人物らしい。もちろんその逆であるよりも私にとってははるかに好ましい。
あなたは正直に言ってよくわからない人だわ。はっきりと言うなら変わり者の多いこのスクールでも特に風変わりな部類に入るほどね。
Well, yeah, you'd never expect an Etoile to be so perverted. There really isn't another word to say. There really isn't another word to use when describing his affection for titties. I don't know if that's the right word.
ところで早速だが質問をいいかね。
I'd been looking for a chance to ask something.
昨夜の連中、君たちを襲撃した武装ギャングどもはあれからどうなったのか。
Though the AK-47 was easy enough to acquire, a group armed with them couldn't be just a bunch of common criminals. As if I knew this country... as far as I knew, this country was so absurdly peaceful that an armed kidnapping would be on the front page of every newspaper. However, I'd checked before coming here and found nothing about it on any media. We weren't questioned by the police either. Mr. Kino had said that she would explain everything in our stead, and we'd been released just like that. That wasn't right. Though this was the countryside, it was unbelievable that this country's law enforcement organizations would be so careless.
スクールが関わっている事件は基本的に表沙汰にならないで処理されます。
Yeah, that would harm your reputation, or the school's reputation.
不祥事を隠しておくのが日本流ということかね。この小さな学園がそれほどの影響力を持っているというのも腑に落ちない話だが。
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too. Sako made a face that seemed to display her confusion. It was probably the expression an adult would make when asked why apples were red.
表沙汰にされないのはまだ当分はスクールの存在とそこで行われていることを一般には隠しておく必要があるからだけど。成田くん、あなた本当に何も知らずこのスクールに来たの？
She wasn't asking as the noble being she strived to be. That was a question from the heart. She was so confused that she had forgotten her mask.
あなたやっぱり変わってる。
学生らしくないのだろ？
そんなさまつなことじゃない。あなたは本当に何もかもおかしいのよ。普通この学園に来る学生たちはここを最後の聖域だと信じてやってくる。たとえそうでなくてもそれに近い感情を抱いている。例外はない。だってそれがこのスクールの存在する意味。それがハローを持つということだから。
Halo. I was familiar with that word and the game series attributed to it. One of the officials testing whether I was worthy of going to the school had muttered it. The halo and its grade, it was a crucial factor in your ability to attend school here.
あなたもハローを持っている。それは絶対の大前提。そうでなければスクールは入学を認めない。そして時の先生によれば、あなたの評価はエトワール。間違いなく資質として最高級のハローを持った HMI の一人。
While I do agree that there are some instances where you can put an, right, an before a H word, that does not apply here. Right? The only time you can put an you can put an before a H is when it's pronounced like a vowel. But when you say HMI, you know, sure, some people will say H, but I would assume most people would say H. So, you know.
だからなおのこと信じられない。そんなあなたが何も知らずにこの学園へやってきたなんて。
Like an honest person. Yeah, that's a good example. Even if the H is silent in that one, it still counts.
そういうことなら私が一風変わり種なのも道理だろうね。この成田真理は聖域など求めてはいない。逃げてきたのではない。挑むためにここへ来たのだ。
逃げてきた？それは私たちに言ったの？
うん、事実なのだろう。君たちは辛かった外を逃げ出して安全なここへとやってきた。何か気に障ってしまっただろうか。であるなら謝罪しよう。思ったままを述べただけで悪意はなかった。
I mean, is he wrong when he says this? Because, you know, apart from the fact that this is essentially this school is heavily not guarded but gated off, right? It's literally called Tenkawa, right? And it's they're being very literal in that in that by using that word, because they're also using the concept of halos, right? So you can think of how do they say? You can think of HMIs as angels, right? Tenkawa being like heaven or something like that, right? They not specifically the word, but they use the kanji for heaven, right? Or angels or similar kind of words.
今の発言は断じて見逃せません。取り消しなさい。
She looked at me with eyes burning with rage. Her irate demeanor made me understand something. She hated to hear the unpleasant truth, but that wasn't the main driving force behind her rage. She was mad at Shinri Naruto for belittling, not belittling, not herself, but the honor of the many nameless students who called the academy their sanctuary.
私は必要ならどんな嘘でも口にする男だ。しかし、これについて意を曲げるのは無理だ。 君には嘘をつきたくない。おとなしさく。
突然何を？
That's why I talked about how beautiful your tits were last night.
いかようにも謝罪はしよう。だが、発言を取り消し、欺瞞を持って取り繕うことは、私の名誉にかけて行うわけにはいかない。
Saku Watanashi, she had the sincerity to get mad at thoughtless words, and the sense of justice to stand up for the sake of others' honor. She was so bright that I almost felt like crying. It was easy to take back what I said and fake my feelings, but I didn't want to defile her nobility with my deception. To Shinri Narita, it was both a given and something he couldn't put into words. It would leave a scar on her dignity. She heaved a long sigh and relaxed. I didn't know if she knew what I intended, but she seemed to have felt my sincerity.
あなた、やっぱり変わってる。
Her mother seemed even more confused than before. He's unique, okay? Like the cavalry here to save us from the slight awkwardness, the phone rang. It was Saku's, and it had the Academy's emblem on it. Using it as a chance to get away from me, she took the call.
はい、おとなしです。そうです。今教室へ向かっています、時野先生。
While she talked, I had nothing to do. There was no wall behind the pillars in the hallway, so I saw something in the inner garden. I was growing bored of the gaudy hallway. Gaudy? One of those words. One of those pronunciations. Which was why I let my curiosity take over and lead me beyond the pillars. So who are we going to meet this time? The spacious garden was connected to the hallway with large stone steps. I walked on one of them and was faced with the vibrant scenery built between the local hills, as well as an old dense forest beyond it. For a small paradise built for just 200 people, it was quite a sight. That was when I noticed a person who was watching the forest from the same step as me.
Oh.
Black ran over white. The white was a canvas supported by an easel, while the black was a line of graphite. The thin, unwavering horizontal line was part of a sketch drawn by a pencil. Well, I was hoping you would wait until I was introduced to him before revealing his name, but I guess I know it now. He didn't even react to my presence, instead focusing entirely on his canvas. The man's handsome face was sickly pale. He couldn't have been that older than me, but it felt like I was looking at an old soul. His straightforward lines and somewhat slothful, gloomy side profile made it seem like I was looking at an aged sage who was bored of the unchanging world. However, his eyes were gleaming with youthful vigor. This contradictory yet complete existence of his seemed to be like a miracle. As I watched him from behind, he began adding more lines to the sketch. Great as I was no god. I had flaws and things I wasn't good at. My sense of art was shamelessly lacking, for one. But despite that, I could tell that I was looking at a true master at work. The tip of the pencil had been cut with a knife, and his speed was such that he seemed to not even be looking at the canvas. Precise and profound, his touch was about what you'd expect from a true artist. A plain white shirt, a basic pair of pants. His apparel was rough and one you could see all over town. It couldn't have been the uniform of this school. Sakura just told me that the academy only allowed students and employees inside. But then, who is this person? You would guess he was a student, but that didn't seem to be the case. He was a strange existence that didn't fit into this place.
絵は素晴らしいよ。失われていく一瞬がここでは永遠だ。
He was talking to me, but his eyes were still fixed on the canvas.
君は転校生かな。
おう、わかるのかね。
何人も見たからね。この学園には転校生が多いんだ。君と同じように夢を抱いてやってくる。
I have a feeling that his ambitions are a lot more big. They're a lot bigger than most.
うん。各地からメガネにかなう資質の持ち主を集めながら少数精鋭を通しているわけか。ベースボール留学というやつだな。
Baseball, huh?
察しがいいね。そんなところだよ。
Shinri Naruto's entry involved a similar process. Due to some boring event not worth talking about, my quality had caught their eyes, and I'd been formally invited to the academy. I greatly appreciated that. I would have been lying if I'd said I wasn't worried, since school life was a first for me, but the unknown always excited me.
君もここの学生なのかね。
He was raised by a fucking hermit, and he does not have good memories of those times.
大義。
Taigi, now, how is that relevant?
僕の名前だよ。大義。
ああ、なるほど。
Naruhodo.
理解できたとも、大義。私は成田真理、転校生だ。本日よりこの学園で多くの同胞たちに混じり、共に笑い、学び、暮らすことになる。
それならいずれまた会えるだろうね、成田くん。僕は少々特別でね。学生ではないが、このスクール内を出歩くことはできる。そう、訳ありなのさ。
Aha.
承知した。では今後ともよろしく頼むとしよう。
So what if Narita's maid also became a special case? However that works.
さては、君は相当の変わり者だね。
何故そんなことを？
これまで来た転校生たちは、僕が訳ありだと言うと、全員それがどういう意味なのかを知りたがった。君は、そんなものにはまるで興味がなさそうだ。
ならば大義、君が語って聞かせたくなったら私に教えてくれたまえ。
なぜだろう。君とは仲良くできそうな気がする。
Well, you two do seem to match each other's quirkiness.
親愛のきっかけとして一つ質問をいいだろうか。さっきから気になっていることがあるのだが。
なんなりと。
何を書いているのかね。
At first, I'd thought it was the ginkgo forest, but that didn't seem right. Taigi casually shrugged and pointed at the forest entrance with his pencil. There. I saw a maid. She was posing with her hands joined over her skirt.
僕が書いているのは彼女だ。
Well, maybe I should have used the you know, I changed the adjective that I used to describe their energies. Alright, I said they matched each other's quirkiness. Maybe I should have stuck with what I was originally going to say. They match each other's freak.
メイドは素晴らしいよ。清楚で深みがある。まるでよくできたワインのよさ。スカートの丈を1センチ変えればまるで別物になってしまう。
I observed her with a fuck you. How do you say that word? With a dilettante's eye. The maid wore a different uniform than Hishia. It was modest, reserved, and exposed little.
悪くない。
やはり君とは仲良くできそうだ。
平坦なのが残念だ。メイドとは豊満であるべきなのだから。豊満こそ需要と生産の象徴、生命の神秘。それが足りない。あまりに足りない。
I feel like this is where they will disagree.
残念だよ成田君。君とは分かり合えないようだ。平坦であることの意味も魅力も理解できない輩だとは思わなかったよ。
Oh, don't worry, Taigi. He will eventually. Just not right now. Or anytime soon. Saku must have finished talking by now. I had an unexpected meeting because of it, and that was fruitful. But it was time to end my brief adventure.
もう少し話をしていたいが戻るとしよう。乙女を待たせているのでね。
それはいけないな。女性を待たせるのは愚かな男のすることだよ。
それではさらばだ、友よ。
バラの園で獣に噛みつかれるだろ
う。Ominous. Those words shot out from behind me, making me stop in my tracks.
それは
Bro, do not play a song called Premonition after what Taigi said.
予言と言ったら君は信じるかな。
Yeah. Considering that that's what the name of the song is.
忠実な騎士を野心に迷わせた荒野の魔女のように破滅という結末へ誘うのかね。
君はマクベス？それともバンクを？
私は成田真理だ。ところでこの学園にバラ園とやらはあるのだろうか。
どうやら君は恐れというものを知らない勇者らしい。
His pen pointed in a certain direction.
それではひとたびの別れを成田くん。また会える日を楽しみにしているよ。
What a meeting. A prediction. He claimed to have informed me of my future. How strange and intriguing. I felt bad for Saku, but I decided to delay my return instead. I walked in the direction Taigi pointed and found a place with a wholly different atmosphere. Oh, would you look at that? It's a field of roses. Well, prepare to die or whatever. Wait, no, what was the premonition again? Beasts will bite you in the field of roses. I have a feeling that the beast in question may or may not be the other Etoels. Or at least the redhead one. It felt like I'd been thrown into a different world, and the space I found beyond the path surprised me. It was a field of roses, blooming vibrant red and white. The scent reaching my nose almost made me choke. The luxurious sight of the well-maintained field full of the Queen of Roses was enough to overwhelm most people. The man who owned the school had to be one who truly understood beauty. I couldn't underestimate him. Well, if the principal is voiced by who I think he is, then yeah, I could see that. He's got a lot of he has a lot of experience when it comes to beauty.
いいだろ。いいだろ。ダメだよ。自分でやらないとダメだったら。
At the entrance to the rose garden, I saw something beast-like attack someone. Who would have guessed that the beast in question would have been the redhead? Two silhouettes were battling. One was a small student in a uniform, while the other was a small woman.
いいからそれをよこせ。うお
Suddenly, the small woman lost her balance. She almost fell head first, but she somehow landed on her feet like an elegant cat instead. But he did say beasts, plural. So it can't just be her, right? Of course, she fell not because she stumbled on something. I just happened to lightly throw her off balance.
いきなり何しやがる。俺に訴えがんのかてめえ。
Now, I know I brought up that there was a second choice in regards to needing breasts. I hope to God that it does not pertain to her. The woman barking at me was rough, but not unrefined. She had a clarity to her that didn't seem to suit her intense speech pattern. Though small, she had comfortably slender limbs, so I could tell they were well trained. Based on the fact that she understood I was to blame for her almost falling, and from how she handled her legs, it was clear that she had a grasp of martial arts. She had long hair fixed to the right side of her head, and beauty that contained both sharpness and strength. If I had to compare her to anything, would it be a tiger? Oh, a leopard. Fuck you. You knew everyone would think of tiger, and of course you have to use a different cat. I would have said she was a leopard, a creature that moved with grace and power. The beastly intensity of the emotions she projected was pleasant. Wait, yeah, no, would be intensity of the emotions she projected were pleasant. That's the right way to use it. He used emotions plural, so you'd have to use were.
何やら想像しい様子だったのでね。バラの園とは静かに見とれるのがふさわしい場所ではないかね。
Yeah, if you're gonna fight somewhere where where you're not in a field of roses.
何こいつ。僕に言われても、なんていうか。
They stopped squabbling and looked at each other. We were soon joined by someone else.
彼は成田真理、転校生です。
The one who joined us was Saku. She must have grown tired of waiting and came to find me.
あ、それじゃあこいつが空子の言ってた。
She found him.
新しいエトワールの仲間。こいつ男じゃねえか。それに俺のこといきなり投げやがったんだぞ。こんなやつのどこが仲間だ。
Hey, he did not throw you, okay? He just tripped you up. It tripped you up.
ええ、まったく。
So, is Saku the other wild beast?
どうかしたの、サク。らしくないけど。うん。
転校初日で噂になっているとは、さすがは私。
Naruto, I know you've never been to school before, but it is not a good thing to have rumors spread about you on the first day.
我ながら面はゆいが、成田真理だ。本日付でこのスクールの学生として諸君らと共に学ぶことになった。よろしく頼もう。
何この天然上から目線。どうかしたの、つらこ。 けじゃないんだけど。ともかく彼は海外暮らしが長かったらしくて、そのせいか日本の空気にまだ馴染めていません。
要するに変人ってか？
He's a weirdo, not because he hasn't been in Japan for years, but because he is the kind of person who would freely grope a woman's tits just because they're big enough for his liking.
そういうことは言っちゃダメだよ、玉緒ちゃん。成田くん、紹介します。この2人は私やあなたと同じエトワールです。7回生の桂木空子と6回生の赤人玉緒です。
It's interesting that they use year instead of grade, because you would, you know, we Australians use year to denote grade, right? And so do the English. But Americans use grade, and other countries, I would think, I would think most countries use grade, right? They're trying to, you know, if you're going to localize the term for grade or year, you would expect it to be translated to, or localized to, the more common vocabulary, right? I guess.
先ほどは何やらみだらな空気を感じて割って入ったのだが、君たち2人は知り合いなのだとすると、先の一幕はいわゆる地上のもつれというやつだろうか。
The reason I'm saying it like that is because Japan technically uses year, right? So it's not wrong of them. It's not wrong that they used year instead of grade, right? But you know, other, how would I say? Other VNs that would be in a high school setting would use like first, second, third year, not year and then the number, right? Which is what, you know, Britain and Australia use, and maybe other countries.
誰がみだらで地上のもつれだ!
I pressed control instead of enter. Tamao turned red, like her hair. She seemed to be the type who showed her emotions easily.
あのな、空子はあんな格好だけど。
You didn't hear that.
男子の制服を着ているが、彼女は裏若き乙女だというのだろう。そんなことは遠目からでも一目見ればわかると思う。
Well, at least we don't have another Infinite Stratos moment where, well, I brought this up before when I compared Sorako to Charlotte, I still don't know her name, from Infinite Stratos, where at least in that show, Charlotte tried to come off as a guy before being exposed. In this instance, while Sorako is wearing a male uniform, it's not like she's trying to act like a guy, if that's the right way to say it.
わかっちゃうんだ。
You know, she's not lowering the pitch of her voice to make her sound more like a guy in that kind of way. Sorako Katsuragi, she wore a faint smile and, for some reason, a boys' school uniform. A standing collar with decorations on the shoulders, pants with folds. Shoulders, pants with folds. The rough exterior, unique to male clothing, did nothing to hide her beauty. In fact, it made it stand out all the more. It wasn't an androgynous charm. It was a warped kind of beauty where the manly decorations only accentuated her refinement and softness as a woman. If I had to compare her to something, don't say anything. Okay, at least he didn't say it out loud. I'd say she was a glasswork flower, though they had no life. Being created by the hands of man gave her a charm that no wild flowers contained. If she was wearing that intentionally, while being aware of such nuances, I could do nothing but bow my head to her sense of aesthetics.
私は応用な男だと自認している。愛に決まった形などなくてよい。万人には万人の愛の姿があるのだよ。たとえ男装の乙女とけだもののごとき少女が描く愛憎劇であれ、私は何ら蔑もうとは思わない。
While he did not say aloud what he was comparing Sorako to, he did not shy away from comparing Tamao to a beast. He didn't specifically call her a leopard like he did in his thoughts, but he is calling her a beast.
誰がけだものだ。この場で脳症ぶちまけて庭の肥やしになりてえか。
何？違うだと。
What a surprise! In my shock, I couldn't help but try to confirm the facts at hand. I was worried about this. I closed in on Tamao. Her eyes widened. It was such a shame that I couldn't answer her passionate gaze properly.
そんな、あっさり玉緒の間合いに入るなんて。成田くん、本当にすごいよ。
Now, Saku, I don't know why you're surprised by this. You saw him fight before, but this isn't that. Thus, to clear the darkness of my doubt...
あ、成田ダメ！ちょっと待ちな！
It's going to be the same thing here. Where they're all the same, they're all going to lead to the same thing. So, unlike last time where I went through all three of them, I'm just going to pick the top option. That's what the guide said. It's going to be the same thing here. I already got a glimpse of what he does in the opening, so it's the CG isn't as surprising this time around. Like a truth-seeking philosopher, I grabbed Tamao's flatness. Now here's the thing. He can't do this with Sorako and Eru, right? Because they're flat. Even though he says he calls Tamao's chest flatness, he's only doing it in comparison to Saku's, which is noticeably bigger. I used both hands just in case. One was enough, but I couldn't afford to make any mistakes. I'm sure you couldn't.
小さいが確かに伝わる張りと柔らかさ、間違いなく本物の乙女ブレストと判断する。
There's a reason Taigi used beasts they use the word beast in plural form because Saku is here.
けだものではないと言われたので焦ったが、君は私が見込んだ通りの女性ではないか。この目はやはり乙女の胸を決して見誤ったりはしないのだ。
乙女の胸を何だと思ってやがるんだ。
Don't worry, he'll only do it to you and Saku because you're romance options.
たっぷりと堪能したとも。故にこの私が保証しよう。足りない君を。薄さは罪とはいえ、それを嘆くことはない。小さきには小さきなりの美と味わいがあるのだから。
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. With the way Naruto describes Tamao's chest, you would think he's groping someone who's on the flatter side. But the problem is, people who are into girls who are on the flatter side, like Dexter, don't like Tamao because she's too big.
俺の胸もんで言うにこと書いて足りない。
She laughed, like some part of her had snapped.
玉緒ちゃん、しっかりして。
Is Soroko not gonna say anything about what Naruto did?
玉緒、壊れちゃダメよ。
絶対に許さない。今すぐ殺すしなす八つ咲きにしてやろう。
Don't crash out in the rose garden, alright? Wait until you're outside of it before hitting him.
飛び散って死ね！
She jumped at me with impressive nimbleness, launching a lethal roundhouse kick that dispersed the smell of roses. I easily dodged it, making the murderous attack cut the air right above my head.
そんな玉緒の蹴りを避けた。
That just makes it very, that he dodges this time because he isn't as into Tamao's hits as he was into Saku's or her legs, especially her legs. There's a reason why he didn't dodge her kick. He was staring very hard at her leggings.
てめえ動くな！
Right, left, above. She became a storm and released 3 fast, powerful kicks. I easily avoided them. The flowers raised by the wind she created began raining down like snow.
もしかしてあの人、玉緒ちゃんの攻撃見えてる？まさかそんなの信じられない。
こいつチョコマカだ。
This body language continued for almost a minute. All of her attacks simply sailed through the air, and she was now panting. It was a bit too early to lose your breath, but that was only natural. The fatigue from missing an attack was a lot worse than from landing it. Then there was the mental fatigue. The impossible idea that she couldn't hit me was making her panic, and the fact that you so boldly groped her tits from behind was another hit to her mental.
玉緒、君はいささか力に頼りすぎだね。速度はあるが次の攻め手が分かりやすすぎる。 本物の一流をその目で見たことはあるかね。例えばボクシングの世界ランカー、最適と最短へ自らを完成させるその技術はまさにアートと呼ぶのがふさわしい。それにどうやら君はこういった舞台向きではないんだろう。
If calling her if saying her tits were small wasn't belittling enough, now he has to criticize her fighting style.
ちくしょう、成田だったな。お前そこまで言った以上後悔すんじゃねえぞ。
Tamao's expression changed. The anger was the same, but there was a sense of revelry in there. She had lost herself and declared that she would remove the final limiters placed on her.
それはダメだよ、玉緒ちゃん。
Soroko stopped her, returning the light of reason to her enraged eyes. This had to be magic born out of their friendship, but alas, it was dispelled by someone else.
構わないわ。やりなさい、玉緒。
She's limit testing Narita.
サク、
サク、何言ってるんだよ。成田くん本当に死んじゃうよ。正直そっちの方がいいかなとか割と本気で思わなくもないんだけど。サク、今何か言っちゃいけないことを言わなかったかな。
Yeah, that's not very ladylike of you to. That's not very noble of you to wish death upon someone.
私も成田真理という男を見極めたい。全力でやりなさい、玉緒。何が起こっても責任は私が取ります。
いいんだな。どうなっても知らねえぞ。
Tamao cracked a wild, feral smile. It was beauty, full of unending confidence, and so enchantingly beautiful. It was beastly, full of unending confidence. Look, he used the word beautiful, so is it wrong of me to say beautifully full of unending confidence?
これは何ともそうけ立つ。どうやら私は窮地を予感しているらしい。
The experience and intuition I'd cultivated over the many dangers I'd experienced made me subconsciously stimulate my fate. This would be a dance of death. If I wanted to win, I had to stop her before she moved.
さて玉緒、君は一体何をするつもりなのだろう。やはりいいものだね。未知とは紅葉だ。まだ見ぬ者との出会いほど心躍るものはない。
I knew I was in danger, but I simply watched her. In my mind, fear and panic lost against the excitement. I felt like a maiden with a crush. Right. I had no intention of dying, of course. I couldn't die in a place like that. I'd yet to fulfill the promise I'd made. Thus, I would surpass this wall before me and arrive at my destined stage.
おう、サクのお許しが出たからな。こっから先は遊び抜きだ。乙女の胸を揉んだ罪、内臓全部飛び散らせてバラの肥やしになってから後悔しやがれ。
The words that followed were like a song that, as they echoed through the garden.
Sit! How beauteous mankind is. Brave new world.
Why do they have to say this in English?
Typed Tempest. 4. Run!
The next moment, she vanished, and she only left behind countless flower petals and a whirlwind carrying the dense scent of roses. Listening to the sound of the cut wind, I followed her. Tamara ran toward my left, nothing fancy. However, her speed was inhuman. Beastly was quite apt. She moved at 70 kilometers an hour, making a mess of the flowers. I dodged her first attack. The right straight she launched actually gave me chills. He calls her beastly for moving this fast, but I think it's more inhuman I think it's I think it'd be more inhuman for Narita to, how would I say, it's more inhuman for Narita to have this level of awareness. Not the right word. But the fact that he's able to keep up with her even though she's moving as fast as she is, you know, the attacks I dodged so easily had become lethal strikes that I'd avoided by a hair's breadth. I'd have definitely been hit if my instincts hadn't made me back away a bit. She'd said that she was going all out, and it was clear she hadn't been exaggerating. Her attacks were so fast you couldn't see them at all, and so powerful that a single jab could be a body-rending cannon shot. She had made the air around her explode just by running, and Tamao became the wind, carrying the vibrant flowers and their smell. The top athletes competing in track and field ran at 30 to 40 kilometers per hour at the most. Tamao's speed was downright inhuman. She also wasn't bound by direction. Tamao dashed left, right, and even up. A humanoid being freely running at such speed was too fast to follow with the naked eye. Tamao didn't stop for a moment. Her style was to attack, then quickly back down, and she'd repeated that 3 times in a row. He's running on. He's running off instincts now, I guess. The continuous attacks made it feel like I was on death's door, even though all her movements and attacks were obvious and telegraphed. Her offensive style hadn't changed at all. The only difference was the overwhelming speed. The rocket-like explosive speed turned her right straights into steel hammers, while her kicks were akin to lightning bolts. Predicting the trajectory meant nothing, since one couldn't dodge anything that was far faster than them. I finally came to understand that her speed was just a hint of her power. She ran, jumped, and launched attacks at a level far above what she had before she'd sung those words. The true explanation for that was simple. She'd raised the output of her muscle-skeletal frame and body in general to heights that granted her inhuman speed and power. It was a very physical ability, very simple and powerful, and very like her. That was the true nature of Tamao's power. She crushed all technique and skill with strength alone.
今すぐやめさせないとあの人死んじゃうよ。本当に？だって避けるのに精一杯じゃない。
Yeah, but like, he's not really going all out. He's not really going all out, is he?
ええ、避けているのよ。玉緒の本気をね。さっきみたいに投げ飛ばす余裕はなくても、玉緒の全力を相手にして避け続けている。成田真理、一体何をどうやって。
Tamao finally became visible. She stopped. She was about 10 meters away. Her intense expression of anger was surely because she'd been she'd be certain that she would defeat me. She would be certain that she would defeat me.
お前なんでまだ生きてんの？そいつがお前のハローか？
ハローか。なるほど。玉緒、君のその力がハローなのだね。
分かりきったこと聞くない。だからこの学園にいるんだろうが。
よく分かった。君が答えてくれた以上、私も答えなければなるまい。私のこれは単なるスキルだ。ハローとは無関係。物理に基づいた至極真っ当な力学による結果。人間とはこの程度の芸当なら計算次第でできるようになるものだよ。
We humans can do this much, sure. I guess you can say that.
ほうへえはスキル技術ってか。お前は何様なんだよ。達人様か。そんなもんで俺のハローを避けられるのかよ。お笑い草だぜ。
Repeat what you just said.
ほうへえはほうへえはスキル技術ってか。お前は何様なんだよ。達人様か。そんなもんで俺のハローを避けられるのかよ。お笑い草だぜ。
What a line.
冗談のつもりはないのだがね。コミュニケーションとはいつもながら難しいものだ。
Yeah, maybe it's because her tits are so small that maybe it's because her tits aren't big enough to act as antennas to aid in communication. What?
もういいよ。お前の言うことが本当だろうが不可視だろうが構わねえ。お前は俺をコケにしやがった。
よかろう、玉尾。それが君の怒りというのなら、自らの信じるところを出せ。
震えろよ。ぶっ殺す。
Tamao created even more distance between us, getting around 20 meters away from me. About 20 meters away from me. She was basically on a launching pad. But you're gonna ruin the flowers. I couldn't protect myself against the speed created by that much acceleration. She would pulverize all in her way to hit her intended target. A burst of wind. Because of course. It has to be a panty shot. She launched herself forward, only to throw herself into the air, limbs spread out. Unable to understand what happened, Tamao flew high into the air. I used a technique called Nadi or River to redirect the kinetic energy from her charge upward. She went soaring so high because she had moved too fast.
これもただのスキルだがね。玉尾、君の選択は悪手だった。
She tried to crush me with overwhelming speed, but the long distance she had created between us had given me time to counter her assault. She had only increased her power and speed. Her techniques were still simple, so I easily predicted what she'd do and prepared counters. If she wanted to win, she should have fought me from up close and given me no chances to react. Her defeat had been set in stone the moment she'd focused on nothing but power and created distance to increase it. Tamao was still really high. It should be heard even if she landed perfectly. Despite knowing that their feminine arms could do little to help, Sakawa and Saraku, I'm surprised that I think this is the first time that a name has been typoed. Saraku jumped up to catch her, though they didn't even make it. You have to zoom in closer on the panties. She fell completely at the mercy of gravity. No, just embarrassed. I knew this was gonna... I knew they were gonna show the panties again. But still, I'd caught Tamao and now held her like a bride.
女性を傷つけるのは本意ではないのだよ。
How noble of him. After groping her tits and calling her beastly, Tamao's head was still spinning. The shock from being sent so high had made a mess of her blood flow, turning her visible skin a deep shade of red.
下ろして。
どうやら怪我はないらしい。大事がなくて幸いだ。しかし万一があるといけない。サク、教室へ行く前に寄り道をしたいのだが構わないかね。できれば医務室まで案内してくれないだろうか。玉尾を連れて行くとしよう。
Right by my side, there were Saku and Sarako, thoroughly flabbergasted. Fortunately, my voice was enough to make them snap out of it.
はい。こっちよ。一緒に来て。成田くん。ありがとう。待って、ダメ。こんなの、られたら。
では玉尾、今しばらくこのまま我慢してくれたまえ。
Yeah, I have a feeling it wouldn't be wise to let you stand on let you stand up at the moment, considering all the blood flow issues.
お願いだから、どうして。
And so I followed Saku to the infirmary. Tamao held in my arms all the while. Part 3 at the beautiful garden.
Narita Shinri という。本日より諸君らの同輩として席を並べて学ぶことになる。よろしく頼もう。
He will freely grope any woman's tits if they're big enough, but he won't comment on their panties. He is truly noble. But you're not wrong. He didn't hit her. But as you can tell, I'm going to end stream for the day. Yeah, most he did was trip her. But it may be a bit too early. Actually, it may be a bit too early for me to do this. But you know, we saw a few characters, personalities enough to do a ranking. You know, maybe it would be maybe it's a bit unfair to Eru, but I think it is, or you know, keep it fresh in my mind. Make it it might be appropriate to at least do this now. But I need to shrink these and use the other rankings as a point of comparison. Are you trying to spite me? No. I'm just, you know, keep it fresh in my mind for the, you know, I'm it'd be better for me to give Sorako and Tomao a ranking when I'm familiar when how do I say it? I don't know. Something like that. But I need to remember that outline size 20, be able to size it up or size it down enough where it's similar to the other rankings, and now I can actually put in the numbers of one to 5, I guess. Also probably best to hide the ranking behind it. Even though there are only 4 girls, there are 5 crowns. You know? And it's not like it's not like this is the first time I'm ranking side characters. Or I guess in this instance, one of the side characters, because it's appropriate enough to, since they're the 5th crown. Well, yeah, whatever I just said. But last place would have to be now. Here's the thing. It's not to spite you, Dexter, but you know, I haven't we haven't been introduced to her in the same way as the others. Now, would it be bad to put okay, actually, let's do third first. So, would it be too obvious to put this character at first? Because she definitely made a strong impression. I think I'm saying vague enough descriptions to make it less obvious who I'm gonna put it first. But you know, Dexter's fucking seen who I've ranked first enough times to probably guess who I'm gonna put at first. Tomao is first. Yes, Tomao is first, and Saku is second. Tomboy. Yeah. And also, I'd be shocked if it was the other way around. Yeah. What about Taigi and Narita? Okay, hang on a minute. No. But, yeah. Either way, happy Mayor ranking. Okay, here's the thing. Just because Narita has not been introduced to Eru and Midori doesn't mean I as the player haven't. So it's more appropriate for me to do the ranking now, even though we haven't seen enough of their personalities for me to accurately do a rankings for them. In Happy Maya's case, we actually haven't. We as in me actually haven't seen Keiko. Just do the ones you know. No. Because that put question mark for ones you aren't sure of it. A long time before Keiko probably shows up. Well, by the time I meet Keiko, there will be fucking I will know enough about the other characters for me to definitively put them on the list. Even though I'm probably sure I probably know where I'm going to put all of the characters on the list. If you want me to spoil where I'm going to put all the characters on the list, I'll fucking do the ranking now. Right, right, 1 to 4. Alright, we're fucking 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, we're doing the first 4 out of the 5 that can be chosen. Alright, that have options. Fourth is Maya. Very unfortunate, Dexter. You wanted to know what my rankings were, and well, what'd you expect? Third is Yayoi. No, yeah, Yayoi. Second is, well, actually, you were able to guess who my top, who best girl is for me at the moment in Hello Lady. You know where I'm up to in Happy Maya, and who do you think I have it first? Saki? Damn, that's unfortunate. It's Alice. And Saki is second. So there's my official, unofficial ranking until Keiko shows up, and then it can become more official of a ranking. But I'm surprised Alice in the comment. Well, let's just say she had a strong introduction. Or at least her panties did. But with that being said, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, a follow would be appreciated. If you want to support me further, go to subscribe. But yeah. Next time we will be playing more. What are you going to stream? The Coffin of Andy and Lele? I'm going to stream it the same time I'm going to stream any visual novel that doesn't have voice acting in it, which is in due time. But speaking of other visual novels, I did just buy the 999 games because they were on sale, and also the AI the Somnium Files games, or at least the first two. And unless you stream DDLC and DDLC Plus, okay, yep. But yes, tomorrow we will be playing more Hello Lady, because we're still not at a good enough point where it would feel appropriate for me to go to a different game. I don't know how to explain it, because here's the thing, right? Because Hello Lady isn't going to be a visual novel that I will post on my main channel anytime soon, right? Because it's going to be the two games I'm playing are Happy Maya and Amaro Chocolate 2 and 3 respectively. I have more leeway in terms of wanting to play other games. But I'm not at a point now in Hello Lady where I feel like it doesn't feel like a good place for me to pause playing through the game. Right? Kind of hard for me to explain, because I am pausing playing it now and last stream. But Dexter, when I say another game, I don't mean another visual novel. I mean like an actual game. But either way, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and I will see you guys again next time. Bye-bye.